What was the most mind-numbing, soul-sucking, boring book you had to read in college school? The Scarlet Letter. Nathaniel Hawthorne is just an awful choice for high school. Why make kids hate reading? I found his prose so difficult to parse, and my high school self loved Shakespeare and Dickens. The Great Gatsby freshman year of high school. Fast forward to rereading it about 5 years later in college, and then maybe 2 more times as an adult, and it's one of my favorite books. High school English is a travesty 90% of the time, making kids analyze the hidden meaning behind poems as if they were puzzles and forcing novels on them before they have the appropriate life experience. The Scarlet Letter. Man, I could not stand it. They make several stories of theoretical events throughout the story that all result in an explaining the same exact concept. Beowulf. We had a rather dull transition that seemed to be written in rhyming slang. I remembered there was def one, but I wiped it from memory. It was that boring and horrible face with tears of joy. The unbearable lightness of being. I threw it across the room several times in frustration as I slogged through it. Then when I brought it to class, my teacher observed that my copy looked well-loved, grinning face with smiling eyes and sweat drop. It was pre-primary. Rainbow fish, it didn't have the sticky scales. Great Expectations by Charles Dickens for my high school English class. I can't even remember much about it anymore, but it was such a struggle to get through. In fact, I don't think I even finished the book. I think I read a summary and wrote my assignments off of that. Anthem by Ayn Rand. It was the most poorly written, shallow piece of shit I've ever read. This was before I even knew about Ayn Rand, so when I learned a few years later, it all made sense. Hegel's Philosophy of Right in my undergrad. Was unable to read more than a few pages without falling asleep. I kept it for several years as an aid for insomnia. The Fountainhead. I'd sooner read War and Peace every day for the rest of my life than read that garbage even once more. I'm about to catch shit, but... The Heart of Darkness by Joseph Conrad. I threw that book against the wall several times in AP English in grade 12, which I was taking to avoid taking first-year English in college. I love reading, I love books, all types of genres. I really don't like that book. One sentence was 2 pages long, and I just could not. Then the next year in first-year college, the AP thing didn't take. I still had to take first-year English, and guess what novel was assigned? Oh, The Rage. Flames, on the side of my face, breathing, breathless, Catcher in the Rye. I'd rather open a vein than put up with that again. A Tale of Two Cities *. As an adolescent, I hated it. As an adult, Dickens became one of my favorite authors. Billy Budd in 9th grade. Holy hell, it totally turned me off of Melville, except for his short story Bartleby the Scrivener. Naked Lunch by William S. Burroughs. Could barely make it past the first chapter. My ADHD did not help. Had to write a research paper on the book for a class on the 60s, liberal arts class, freshman year, so I basically procrastinated until the last moment and ended up complaining about how incomprehensible the prose was. I cited a goddamn Amazon review in the paper law. Somehow I made it out with a 96% on that paper. And that's when I realized colleges, gonna be like high school claimed it would. The Pearl. It was the only time I sneaked into the mall bookstore and read Cliff's Notes about it. The teacher had promised penalties for those who bought the Cliff's Notes and used them, so I just didn't buy them. Beaming face with smiling eyes. I made sure none of the kids saw me do it, too, but found out later that I was far from the only in-store reader. It told enough about that dry piece of work to allow logic to take care of the rest. Not sorry. I'm sorry trees died for that. The Bible. All of the above plus some misogyny to keep things spicy. Wuthering Heights. That was the worst slog I can ever remember. I can't think of any book that is so exactly as opposite of all of my interests. The Bible.